The evening rink is brightly lit. It looks like a frozen lake with lights. Eliza holds her daughter Aya's hand tightly. Aya is 10 years old. She's wearing a blue down jacket and bright mittens. She laughs and tries to glide forward. The ice glistens and creaks beneath her skates. Aya lets go of her mother's hand. She wants to ski a little on her own. She takes 2 hesitant steps, and suddenly her blade twists. Aya falls onto the ice. The fall is soft, but unexpected. She sits up and winces. Eliza immediately bends down to help her daughter up, but someone is faster. A shadow appears next to Aya. 2 strong, dark-gloved hands gently grab the girl under the arms and lift her to her feet. The movements are quick and precise. Eliza straightens up. An unfamiliar man in a long black coat stands before her. He is tall. His hair is dark and neat. He has already released Aya and is looking at Eliza. His face is calm. "Everything okay?" the stranger asks. His voice is quiet, but clearly audible through the evening noise. He looks at Aya. Aya nods, a little embarrassed. She brushes the snow off her knees. "Thank you," she says quietly. "Do you need help getting to the side?" The man turns to Eliza. He smiles. His smile is direct, not wide. It seems polite. Eliza is a little wary. She's used to being cautious around strangers. She puts an arm around Aya's shoulders. "Thank you. We can handle this ourselves," she says politely but firmly. The man nods, as if understanding. He steps back, giving them space. "The rink's especially slippery today," he remarks simply. Then he looks at Aya. "Are you brave enough to try it for the first time?" "It's not the first time," Aya perks up. "But I'm not very good at it yet." "You'll learn quickly," the man says. He looks at Eliza, as if seeking permission to continue the conversation. Then he makes a slight gesture toward the cafe at the edge of the rink. "Let me offer you a hot chocolate, to warm you up after your fall, and as an apology for my intrusiveness." Eliza hesitates. She looks at Aya. The girl looks at the stranger, then at her mother. There's interest and approval in her eyes. Eliza knows it would be rude to refuse. It's just chocolate. Just a few minutes. "Okay," she says finally. "Just for a little while. Thank you." The man bows his head slightly. "My name is L.I. He introduces himself to Eliza. "And this is Aya." They're sitting at a small table by the window in the cafe. Figures of skaters flicker through the glass. 3 mugs of steaming hot chocolate sit on the table in front of them. Aya carefully blows on hers. Li-Su has taken off his coat. He's wearing a dark sweater and simple trousers. He sits up straight, his hands resting calmly on the table. He's not fidgeting. "Do you come here often?" he asks Eliza. "Sometimes," she replies. "Aya likes to skate. And you?" "First time at this rink," says Li-Su. "I was passing by. Saw the lights. Decided to come in." He drinks his chocolate. It seems he has nothing more to say. There's a brief pause. Aya breaks it. "Are you a good skater?" Li-Su looks at her and smiles again. "I used to skate a long time ago. Not anymore. Work leaves no time." "What do you do for a living?" Eliza asks. The question sounds natural. "I have my own small business, importing electronic components," he answers easily. His answer is smooth, as if memorized. He doesn't go into detail. "And you?" "I'm a graphic designer. I work from home mostly," says Eliza. The conversation flows slowly and carefully. Li-Su asks simple questions about the weather, about Aya's school, about the bookstore across the street, which, it turns out, Eliza also likes. He's polite. His calm is initially alarming, but gradually begins to have a calming effect. He doesn't try to joke too much, doesn't speak loudly, and doesn't interrupt. Aya finishes her chocolate and looks out the window. "Mom, can we ride a little longer?" Eliza looks at her watch. 10 more minutes, okay?" Li-Su stands up. "I have to go. It was very nice to meet you." He leaves money on the table for drinks. "Eliza, Aya, hope to see you again." He dresses, nods goodbye to them, and leaves. His figure disappears into the evening crowd at the exit. 2 days later, Eliza picks Aya up from school. They walk along the sidewalk, discussing school news. Near the entrance to a small park next to the school, someone calls out to them. "Eliza, Aya?" They turn around. Li-Su is standing next to the bench. He's wearing a different coat, a lighter one. He looks like he's just out for a walk. "What a coincidence," he says, his smile still as straight as ever. "Hello," says Eliza. She is surprised. "I was just on my way to a meeting nearby," Elle explains. He looks at Aya. "How's your skating going?" Aya begins to explain that she barely fell yesterday. Li-Su listens attentively. He asks her a couple more questions. Then he looks at Eliza. "Do you mind if I walk with you for a bit?" They have the same way home. Eliza shrugs. Of course. The three of them walk together. Lisu says little. He mostly asks Aya questions, and she answers them happily. He seems a patient listener. He stops at Eliza's entrance. It was nice to see you again. Have a nice day, he says, and leaves. The next day, Eliza goes to her favorite bookstore to buy a new sketchbook. She stands at the shelf, leafing through the pages. A familiar voice sounds nearby. Looking for something for myself or for work? El Su is standing nearby. He is holding a business magazine. For work, Eliza answers. She looks at him. Do you come here often? Sometimes, he says. You have good taste in shops. They talk for a few more minutes. About books. He recommends a design book she didn't know the title of. The advice turns out to be sound. You seem to show up everywhere, Eliza remarks cautiously as they leave the store. Lisu pauses. His expression turns serious. I understand how this appears. I apologize if my appearances seem intrusive. I just enjoy talking to you. He says this simply, without pretense. Eliza believes him. There's no pressure in his tone. Just a statement of fact. It's okay, she says. Then, perhaps, he begins slowly, you'll allow me to invite you for a walk? Just you. If you're interested, of course. Eliza freezes. She looks at him. He waits calmly, without insisting. Okay, she hears herself say. Let's go. They meet on Saturday afternoon in the same park near Aya's school. The sun is shining, but it's cold. Eliza is dressed warmly. Lisu is already waiting at the entrance. Seeing her, he waves. They walk along the cleared path. Snow lies in even white drifts on either side. At first they are silent. Then the conversation begins. Again, simple and calm. Lisu asks how Aya is doing at school. He asks about her hobbies. He tells her he has a nephew about the same age. He says children grow up very quickly. His stories are general, without specific details. Eliza tries to ask about his family, where he grew up. He answers evasively. I was born in Korea, but I've lived here for a long time. My parents stayed there. We rarely see each other. He turns the conversation to her work, her favorite artists. He's a great listener. He asks questions that make Eliza talk more. About her dreams of becoming a children's book illustrator. About raising Aya alone. She doesn't usually tell people she doesn't know well. But with him it comes naturally. He doesn't interrupt, doesn't offer advice, just nods. They reach a frozen pond. They stop. Lisu looks at the ice. Thank you for coming, he says suddenly. I know you're a cautious man. I appreciate that. You don't seem like someone to be wary of, Eliza replies. She means it. Lisu looks at her, his dark eyes attentive. Appearances can be deceiving, he says quietly, a strange note in his voice, but it disappears immediately. He smiles again. Just an old saying. Don't pay attention. He looks at his watch. I have to go, but I hope we can go for another walk. Maybe next time with Aya. She's a wonderful girl. Eliza nods. Yes. She asked if we could all go skating again sometime. That's a great idea, Elle says to Sue. He says goodbye and walks off down the same path. Eliza watches him go. She feels a mixture of calm and slight anxiety. He's too perfect, too calm. He's so skillful at avoiding personal topics. But Aya likes him, and she feels comfortable with him too, for now. She pushes away her doubts and slowly walks home, thinking about showing Aya the new photos from the skating rink they took on their phone last time. It's evening that same day. Aya is already in her pajamas, sitting on the couch, covered with a blanket. Eliza sits down next to her. The room is warm and cozy. The floor lamp is on. How was the walk? Aya asks, burying her nose in the soft fabric. Eliza replies, We were just walking and talking. She takes out her phone and scrolls through the screen. Look! She shows Aya several photos. They were taken the last time they met, when all three were at the skating rink. In the first photo, Aya is standing between Eliza and Lisu. All three are smiling. Lisu is looking not at the camera, but at Aya. In the second photo, they are sitting at a table in a cafe, their mugs still full. Aya looks closely at the photos. He looks good in the photo, she remarks. Yes, Eliza agrees. He's always so calm. I like him, Aya says simply. He doesn't scream or try to tickle me like Uncle Mark. Uncle Mark is their old neighbor and sometimes a bit too noisy. Eliza smiles. Yes, he's polite. She switches to another photo, where she, Elle, and Sue are alone, standing by a bookshelf in the store. His face is in profile. He's pointing to something on the page. Does he like you? Aya asks, looking up at her mother. Eliza is a little embarrassed. I think so. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked me out. So, he will come to us more often? Perhaps, if you don't mind. Aya shrugs. I don't mind. He helps me when I fall. She says this so seriously that Eliza laughs and hugs her. They look at the photos for a while longer. Then Aya yawns, and Eliza leads her to bed. A week passes. Lisu doesn't show up every day, but his presence is felt. On Wednesday, Eliza starts to get a headache and feels weak. By evening, she realizes she's getting sick. She grumbles that she didn't have time to buy soup. The doorbell rings. Eliza opens it, expecting a courier with packages she didn't order. Elle and Sue stand at the threshold. He's holding a thermos and a paper bag. Eliza, he says, I called Aya to ask about your math homework. She said you weren't feeling well. I hope you don't mind. He holds up the bag. It's chicken soup, homemade. Eliza is too tired to refuse. She lets him in. Li-Su goes into the kitchen and pours soup from a thermos into a large bowl. The aroma fills the room. While Eliza drinks the soup on the couch, he sits down with Aya at the table and helps her with the task. He explains it patiently and clearly. He doesn't do it for her, but rather prompts. An hour later, Eliza feels better. The warm food and the strange calm emanating from Elle and Sue help. He leaves, leaving a thermos, and saying he'll check in on them tomorrow. The next day, he does indeed send a text message. A brief one. How are you? Eliza replies. Better, thank you. 15 minutes later, a courier arrives with 2 containers of healthy food and fresh fruit. Handwritten on the card, for strength, Li-Su. Aya is delighted with the tangerines. He's kind, she says, peeling the fruit. Eliza looks at the containers of food. It's concern, but it's precise, measured, as if according to instructions. She's grateful, but deep down, that same slight chill stirs again. Everything is too right. On Friday, they meet again, this time at a quiet cafe in the city center. It's his choice. The place is expensive, but not flashy. A table in the corner. They talk about films, about the new exhibition at the city museum. Eliza feels more relaxed. She jokes, and he smiles at her jokes. But when she tries again, more confidently, to ask about his life, the wall returns. You never told me why you moved here from Korea, she says, playing with her spoon and her dessert. Li-Su looks away, looking out the window. Family circumstances. I had to start all over again. His voice is even. Is it difficult to start in a new place alone? Yes, but it teaches you a lot. He pauses and turns to face her. His eyes are now direct. Eliza, my past. It's not very interesting, and in some places, not very pleasant. I'd prefer to talk about the present, and perhaps the future. He says it softly, but there's a request in his tone that's hard to ignore, almost an order disguised as politeness. Eliza backs down. Sorry, I didn't mean to pry. You're not intruding. You're asking. It's natural. Just give me time. He smiles, and this time the smile seems a little sad to her. Or is it a trick of the light? He pays the bill. When they go outside, he takes her hand to help her down the slippery steps. His touch is warm and quick. He lets go immediately. Goodbye, Eliza. See you soon, he says and leaves. She watches him go, feeling that mixture of affection and uncertainty again. Late that evening, Eliza sits alone in the living room. Aya is long asleep. Eliza picks up her phone and opens the gallery. She looks through the photos. Here's Aya on the first day of school. Here they are at the zoo. And here are the new photos. She stops at one taken today. She took a picture of her dessert at the cafe, and Elle and Sue's hand holding a cup of coffee just happened to be in the frame. Just a wrist and part of the cuff of his dark jacket. She slowly flips back. A photo from the skating rink. A photo in a bookstore. A photo from the park on Saturday. In it, she, Elle, and Sue are standing by a frozen pond. He's turned sideways to her, his face half turned, his gaze directed somewhere into the distance, at the ice. His expression is unreadable. Pensive, wary, simply calm. She zooms in on the photo, running her finger across the screen. His features are crisp, defined, very precise. She saves this photo in a separate folder. The folder is called Walks. So far, there are only 4 photos in it. Eliza puts her phone down. She thinks about his hand, which helped her down the steps today, about the thermos of soup, about his patient explanations to Aya. Then she thinks about his eyes, which darted away when she asked about the past, about how he said, appearances can often be deceiving. She turns off the light and goes to bed. On the way, she peeks into Aya's room. The girl is fast asleep, hugging a stuffed bunny. Eliza adjusts the blanket on her. Tomorrow is Saturday, and Iol or Sue has suggested they all go skating together again. Aya is looking forward to it, and Eliza, well, frankly, is too. The uncertainty is unsettling, but his attention is warming. For now, it's warmer. She decides to push her doubts aside. So far, everything is going well. On Saturday morning, Aya takes her mom's phone to play. She's already done her homework and can watch a few videos. She goes to the gallery to find funny ones, GIFs that her friends sent her. She swipes up the screen, screenshots, food photos, old pictures flash by. And suddenly she sees a familiar face. It's the last photo from the park, the one with Elle and Sue standing by the pond. Aya stops. She doesn't open the photo, but simply looks at the small preview. She furrows her brow. She's seen that face somewhere, not just at the skating rink or on a walk, somewhere else. She tries to pin down the thought, but it slips away like a slippery fish. Maybe on TV? Maybe in a crowd on the street? Or on some poster? She can't remember. Aya opens the photo, enlarges it. She looks at Elle and Sue's eyes, their jawlines, their neat hair. The feeling doesn't go away. It's vague but persistent. She closes the photo, then opens it again. No, she doesn't remember. Aya, have breakfast! Mom calls from the kitchen. Aya puts the phone on the table and goes to wash her hands. She's silent over breakfast, deep in thought. What are you thinking about? Asks Eliza. Mom, where could we have seen Elle and Sue before? Eliza raises her eyebrows in surprise. Before? We saw him for the first time at the skating rink, honey. I know, but... Aya hesitates. I think I've seen him somewhere else. Maybe on TV, in an ad? Eliza laughs. I doubt it. He's a businessman, not an actor. You're probably just imagining things. He's a memorable person. Aya nods, but she's unsure. She finishes her porridge, but the feeling of slight uneasiness doesn't go away. She decides not to tell anyone else. Maybe Mom's right. It just seems that way. On Sunday evening, Sue comes to visit them with 2 large bags of groceries. He says he wants to cook dinner for them. Are you sure? Eliza asks. I can help. Absolutely, he replies. Rest. It's my little gift. His tone leaves no room for argument, but it sounds kind. He puts on the apron he brought with him and gets comfortable in the kitchen. He doesn't ask where anything is, but acts with precision and confidence, as if he's cooked here 100 times before. After a while, the aromas of fried vegetables, spices, and meat fill the apartment. Aya helps set the table. She sets the plates and lays out the napkins. Lee Sue, passing by, adjusts one fork, placing it a little straighter. He does it casually, but Aya notices. Dinner is delicious. Lee Sue says it's one of the simple Korean dishes. They eat, talking about school, the weather, and how Aya wants to get a dog but can't have one in the apartment. Lee Sue listens and nods. He asks Aya questions about her friends and listens attentively to her answers. He jokes with her, and his jokes are funny, but not stupid. Eliza watches them. She sees Aya liven up, laughing. She herself feels warm and calm. It's a feeling of almost familial comfort that she's been missing so much. Lee Sue looks right at home here, but at the same time, he doesn't allow himself anything unnecessary. He doesn't try to hug her or Aya, doesn't say anything unnecessary. He's simply present, and this presence feels safe. After dinner, he declines help with the cleanup. I'll do it all myself. You're my guests in your own home. He smiles. He washes the dishes, wipes the table, puts the leftovers in containers, and puts them in the refrigerator. The whole thing takes him 20 minutes. As he leaves, he stands in the doorway. Thank you for a wonderful evening, he says, looking at them both. Thank you, Eliza replies. Aya waves at him. Bye, Lee Sue. See you soon, Aya. He leaves. The apartment seems empty, but the vase of flowers he brought with him still sits on the table, and the air smells of a delicious dinner. Later, when Aya is already asleep, Eliza sits with a cup of tea. She thinks about the evening. Everything was perfect. Perfect. Too perfect. Her thoughts return to their conversations. He again evaded direct questions. She asked if he had any brothers or sisters. He said, family far away. She asked where he lived. He answered vaguely, downtown, not far from the office. She tried to find out how he spent his time outside of work. He said, reading, exercising, traveling. All the answers seem right, but they're empty. There's nothing behind them. No childhood stories, no funny stories, no friends' names. There's only the present. A thermos of soup, help with homework, a perfectly cooked dinner, a fork neatly adjusted on the table. Eliza sighs. She's not much of a public figure herself, Maybe he's just like her, secretive by nature. Maybe he had difficulties in the past he doesn't want to talk about. She herself wasn't open about raising Aya alone, but something's gnawing at me. His confidence, the precision with which he does everything, as if he's following a plan for care, a plan for attention, a plan for the perfect dinner. She pushes these thoughts away. She's tired and paranoid. He's kind. Aya likes him, and she feels good with him. She gets up, washes her cup, and turns off the light. Tomorrow is Monday, a lot of work. She can't waste time on unfounded suspicions. Everything is fine. So far, so good. She repeats this to herself, like a mantra, as she walks to the bedroom. But somewhere deep inside, a small, cold nub of doubt remains. It's quiet, but it doesn't go away. It's Tuesday evening. Aya is sitting on the couch watching a cartoon. It ends, and commercials begin. Aya gets distracted. Her gaze falls on her mother's phone, lying on the coffee table. She takes it. Mom doesn't stop her from using it as long as she's nearby. Meanwhile, Eliza is working on the computer in the next room. Aya unlocks the screen. She's not looking for anything specific. She swipes at the icons. Then she opens the gallery again. She goes to the walks folder. There are now 5 photos there. The last one is from their family dinner. Her mother took it. In the photo, Aya is laughing, and Sue is standing at the stove in their kitchen, wearing an apron, stirring something in a wok. He's looking not at the camera, but at the food, his face focused. Aya flips back. Photos from the park, photos in the bookstore, photos from the skating rink. She stops at that very first photo from the skating rink, the one where he helps her up. His face is close up. He's looking at her, at Aya. His expression is somehow empty, not angry, not kind, just clear and focused, like a doctor performing a procedure. And that feeling again, it was stronger than it had been this morning. She'd definitely, absolutely definitely seen that face somewhere else. Not in real life, but somewhere. On the news? On some show? Or maybe it wasn't him, but just someone very similar? She squints, trying to pull the memory out with her mind. She closes her eyes. Images flash before her. The TV in the living room. The computer screen at school. No, it's not working. She hears footsteps. Eliza finishes her work and leaves the room. "What are you watching?" Mom asks, sitting down next to me. A photo," Aya says, and quickly turns off the screen. She doesn't want to talk about her stupid thoughts again. Mom will say it's nonsense. Or maybe it really is nonsense. "Go get ready for bed. You have to get up early tomorrow," Eliza says, stroking her hair. Aya nods and goes to the bathroom. Before bed, she tries to remember once more, but her memory is silent. She falls asleep with a vague feeling of unease. Wednesday begins as usual. Eliza wakes up to her alarm. In the kitchen, she turns on the light. It's still dark outside, a winter morning. She puts on the kettle, gets out some toast, and makes porridge for Aya. 15 minutes later, Aya emerges from her room, dressed in her school uniform. She sits down at the table, still sleepy. "Good morning," says Eliza, placing a plate of porridge and a glass of juice in front of her. "Morning," Aya mutters. She eats slowly, waking up. Eliza is in a hurry. She has a meeting with an important client today. She pours herself coffee in a travel mug and checks the documents in her briefcase. Everything is as usual. A typical weekday morning. "Aya, please remember to turn off the TV when you leave," Eliza reminds her. In the mornings, Aya sometimes turns on the morning cartoon channel or the children's news while getting ready. Aya nods, spreading jam on her toast. Eliza puts on her coat and kisses Aya on the top of her head. "See you later, honey. Is everything okay at school?" "Uh-huh," Aya replies. "Say hi to Elle and Sue if he calls," Eliza adds with a smile, and leaves the apartment. The door closes. Aya finishes her toast. She gets up and takes the plate to the sink. Then she picks up the TV remote, hanging on the wall next to the refrigerator. She turns it on. The morning show appears on the screen. The hosts are cheerfully discussing something. Aya isn't really paying attention. She goes to brush her teeth, leaving the TV playing in the background. Aya returns to the living room to pack her backpack. She stands in front of the sofa, zipping up her jacket. Her gaze glides to the television. The morning show is ending. The news title appears on the screen. Solemn music and a logo play. The announcer at the desk announces the transition to an important exclusive report. "And now, the main topic of the hour," the announcer says. "After a lengthy investigation, our editorial team, together with the police, managed to expose a large criminal group that had long operated under the cover of a legitimate business network. Aya isn't very interested. She bends down to adjust her shoelace. The announcer's voice continues. The group, led by a man known by several aliases, specialized in financial fraud, intimidation, and corporate raids. Aya straightens her jacket. She glances at the screen out of the corner of her eye. It shows some kind of office building, people in uniform standing at the entrance. The leader of the group, posing as a successful international entrepreneur, was a master of disguise. And then, on the screen, over the footage of the building, a large, clear photograph appears. It takes up almost the entire screen. A portrait, like one for an ID or a business magazine. It shows a man in an expensive dark suit with a white shirt and tie. His hair is neatly combed. His face is stern, unsmiling. His gaze is direct, cold, and directed straight at the camera. Aya freezes mid-stride, her hand holding the backpack hovering in midair. She recognizes this face. She recognizes the line of the eyebrows, the shape of the lips, that special, expressionless look. Elle and Sue's face. Aya doesn't move. She stands in the middle of the living room, hunched over, one hand in her jacket sleeve, staring at the TV. Her mouth is slightly open. There's a ringing in her ears. It's him, that same man, the one who brought soup, who helped with homework, who cooked dinner in their kitchen. But in this photo, he's different. Not a trace of that polite half-smile. His face on the screen is like a stone mask. Cold. Alien. The announcer continues speaking, but Aya can barely hear the words. All she can hear is the pounding in her head and the pounding of her own heart. She slowly straightens up. Her hand reaches for the screen, her fingers stretching out, as if she wants to touch the image, to check if it's real. "Mom?" she whispers. But there's no mom. Mom's gone. Panic, sharp and instant, pierces her. She must call her mother, now. Aya turns and runs toward the hallway. She grabs her cell phone from the table. Her fingers are shaking, and she struggles to find her mother's number in her favorites. She presses the call button. Beeps. Long beeps. "Mom, pick up," she whispers, pressing the phone to her ear. Eliza had just stepped off the subway. Her phone vibrated in her coat pocket. She pulled it out, seeing a call from Aya. She was a little surprised. They had just broken up. "Aya, is something wrong?" she replies, making her way through the morning crowd. From the other end of the line comes the sound of ragged, frightened breathing. "Mom, turn on the TV! Hurry!" "TV? Aya, what's wrong? Are you okay?" Eliza's voice grows anxious. "It's him! Lee Soo! He's on the news!" Aya almost screams. Her voice is thick with tears and horror. A chill runs down Eliza's spine. "What? What are you saying? Turn it on! Any news channel! Hurry, Mom, please!" Okay, I'm going home. Stay put. Don't go anywhere." Eliza turns sharply and runs back to the subway entrance. She hangs up and tries to find the news feed on her phone as she runs. She needs to see. Now. She pauses outside, leaning against the wall of a building, and starts streaming video. The screen freezes for a second. Then the image appears. The same news report. She sees the same photo. Elle and Sue's faces fill her phone screen, and the announcer's voice comes through clearly, cutting through the street noise. The group's operating scheme, according to investigators, was meticulously honed. The leader, using the attractive appearance and manners of a successful businessman, purposefully sought out single women from influential or wealthy families. He gained their trust, established close relationships, and then, using the information he obtained or his emotional influence, gradually gained access to the assets of his victims' family businesses. Through legally impeccable methods or covert pressure, these assets were transferred under his control. The words hit Eliza like a punch to the stomach. The air is taken away. The world around her, noisy, cold, gray, narrows to a small screen. Eliza can't tear her eyes away from her phone. She sees the photo of Elle and Sue shrink and move to the corner of the screen. Other faces begin to appear next to it. Women's faces. Young, attractive. Under each one is a caption. Victim number 1. Victim number 2. These are the women he did to what he was doing to her now, gaining their trust. The announcer says, investigations suggest that the group had another potential target. Her identity has also been established. And then, in the center of the screen, a new photo pops up, large and vivid. It's Eliza laughing, her head thrown back. It's a photo of her from social media, the one taken last summer in the park. She loved that photo. Text appears below the photo, bold black letters. New potential target, Eliza M. Eliza drops her phone. It hits the pavement, the screen cracking, but the image remains on it for a few seconds, flickering before fading. She doesn't hear anything anymore. She doesn't hear the announcer's voice. She doesn't hear the honking of cars. She stands, leaning against the cold wall, and stares into space. Her whole body is numb. The only thought that runs through her head, incoherent and terrible: Aya, he knows where we live. He was in our house. He was standing in our kitchen. Aya. Aya stands in the living room with the phone to her ear. She heard her mother hang up. She heard in her mother's voice the same horror that gripped her. She slowly lowers her hand. The TV screen is now showing something else, an advertisement. But those faces, his and her mother's, seem frozen in the air before her. She can't move. She's afraid to take a step, afraid of sound. The apartment is completely, oppressively silent. She hears only the ticking of the kitchen clock and the hum of the refrigerator. These ordinary sounds now seem foreign and loud. 10 minutes later, which feels like an hour, the sound of a key in the lock is heard. Aya startles and turns to the door. The door swings open, and Eliza appears on the threshold. Her face is white as paper. There are traces of tears on her cheeks, or from the frost. Aya can't tell. Her coat is unbuttoned, though it's cold outside. In her hands, she clutches her phone. Its screen cracked. Mother and daughter stare at each other across the hallway. No one says a word. Eliza closes the door behind her. She does it slowly, carefully, as if afraid of waking someone. The click of the lock sounds incredibly loud. Aya wants to run to her mother, to hug her, but her legs won't obey her. She sees her mother's hands shaking as she tries to hang the keys on the hook. The keys jingle and fall to the floor. Eliza doesn't bend down to pick them up. She just looks at Aya. They both understand. They understand without words. This man who was in their house, who touched their things, who knew their routine, is a dangerous criminal. He has chosen Eliza as his next target. He has been lying this whole time. Every smile, every gift, every help. It was all a lie. Part of the plan. They're trapped. He knows their address. Aya is the first to find the strength to move. She takes a step forward, then another. She approaches her mother and takes her cold hand. Eliza looks at her, and there is emptiness and panic in her eyes. She can't collect her thoughts. "Mom," Aya says quietly. Her own voice sounds hoarse and unrecognizable. "Mom, we need to call the police, now!" Eliza blinks slowly, as if returning from a distant place. Her daughter's words don't immediately register. "Police," she repeats automatically. "Yes," Aya insists, squeezing her hand tighter. "We need to call them. Tell them everything. Before he comes." She can't pronounce the name Lee Soo anymore. It gets stuck in her throat. The mere mention of him coming makes Eliza flinch. She glances sharply around the hallway, as if expecting to see him in the corner. Yes, you're right. The police. She starts rummaging through her pockets, looking for her phone, then remembers it's broken and lying somewhere on the street. "My phone. We'll call from mine. Or from the house," Aya says, already turning to the landline phone on the nightstand in the living room. She pulls her mother along with her. They enter the living room. The TV is still on, showing a cartoon. The cheerful sounds seem blasphemous. Aya grabs the remote and turns it off. An even deeper silence descends. Eliza goes to the phone. She reaches out to pick it up. Her fingers hover a centimeter from the plastic. Her entire body seems to resist the movement. Calling the police means making it real, officially admitting that they were victims, that their lives had just been turned upside down. Aya looks at her mother's frozen hand. "Mom, come on," she whispers, nudging. And at that very moment, the phone on the nightstand explodes with a piercing, deafening ring. They both recoil from it, as if from hot iron. A sharp, insistent sound cuts through the silence. It seems impossibly loud. Eliza and Aya freeze, staring at the black plastic receiver. It rings and rings, the vibrations transmitted to the wooden stand. This isn't her mobile. It's their home number. Very few people know it. Grandma, the school, a couple of old friends. Eliza looks at Aya. The same question is in her daughter's eyes. Who is this? The ringing doesn't stop. It sounds like an alarm. One part of Eliza wants to grab the phone and scream for help. Another, stronger and colder part, already knows, already guesses. Slowly, very slowly, she reaches out again. Her fingers tremble. She grasps the receiver, lifts it, presses it to her ear. She doesn't say hello. She simply waits, holding her breath. There's silence on the other end of the line. Or is that just her imagination? Then she hears light, even breathing, and a familiar voice. Calm, gentle. the same voice that wished her good morning and asked about her homework. "Eliza," Elle and Sue say. "You're home." Eliza doesn't answer. She can't utter a word. She simply holds the phone and stares at the wall in front of her. Her face is white, her lips pressed tightly together. "Eliza. Can you hear me?" The voice on the other end of the line sounds as even and calm as ever. There's not a hint of tension in it, as if he's just calling to chat. Aya stands nearby and sees her mother's chin trembling. She tugs at her sleeve, whispering, "Who?" Eliza closes her eyes for a second. She hears that voice, and she feels sick. That voice was reading Aya a bedtime story. That voice was saying, "Don't worry, I'll help." It was all a lie. Every word. Here," Eliza finally manages to say. Her voice sounds hoarse and alien. "Great," Sue says. There's a slight background hum on the line, as if he's outside or in a car. "I think we need to talk, calmly and without emotion. I want to invite you tonight, you and you, to dinner, somewhere nice. And I want you to meet my family. I think it's time to stop hiding." His tone is friendly, almost welcoming. He talks about meeting the family as a natural next step in their relationship. It sounds so normal, so terrifyingly normal, that it takes Eliza's breath away. "No," Eliza says immediately. The word comes out sharply, almost like a scream. There was a slight pause on the line. He hadn't expected such a direct refusal. "Eliza, I understand you might be upset about something. Maybe you saw or heard something." His voice becomes soothing, as if he were talking to a frightened child. "No!" Eliza repeats, her voice now growing stronger with desperation. "I don't want to see you. I don't want to talk to you. Forget about us. Forget where we live. Leave us alone, please." She's almost begging. She wants it to work, for him to just say, "Okay," and disappear. But he doesn't disappear. His calm cracks slightly. A thin, icy streak of something else appears in his voice. Impatience? Irritation? "Eliza, this is unreasonable. We can't just end this. We have things to discuss. I need to see you." "There's nothing to say between us," she whispers. Her strength is waning. She wants to hang up. "Think about Aya," he says quietly, and the words freeze Eliza in her tracks. "She doesn't need any unnecessary stress. Let's discuss this like adults. Over dinner." The mention of Aya strikes Eliza like an electric shock. Fear for her daughter outweighs everything else. "Leave her alone!" Eliza almost growls, and slams the receiver down. The ringer ends. The room is silent again, but now it rings in her ears. Eliza stands, leaning against the nightstand, breathing heavily. Aya presses herself against her. "What did he say?" Aya asks, her eyes full of tears. Eliza turns to face her. There's no longer any confusion in her gaze. There's pure, animal-like determination there now. Fear has turned to adrenaline. "We're leaving, now," she says firmly and quickly. "Take only the essentials. Clothes for a couple of days, warm clothes, documents, your most important things. Quickly." "Where?" Aya asks fearfully. "I don't know. Further away. To another city. First, let's just get out of here." Eliza is already on the move, running into the bedroom, grabbing a large duffel bag and a rolling suitcase from the shelf. Aya stands for a second, then rushes into her room too. She understands. Elle and Sue's call wasn't an invitation. It was a warning. He knows they've seen the news. He's still trying to control the situation, to lure them in. But if that doesn't work, he's close. Chaos erupts in the apartment. The calm, cozy life is shattered. Eliza sweeps things off the bedroom shelves into a suitcase. She doesn't fold them, she throws them. T-shirts, jeans, sweaters. She runs to the bathroom, scoops toothbrushes, toothpaste, and combs into a bag. Her hands are shaking. She drops a tube. It falls to the floor. She doesn't even bend down to pick it up. She remembers the documents. Important! She yanks open a dresser drawer and finds a folder with passports, hers and Aya's, certificates, and medical insurance policies. She stuffs it into her bag on top of her clothes. Aya is in her room. She stands in front of the open closet, unsure what to take. She's overcome with dread. She grabs the first sweatshirt and jeans she comes across, then sees the stuffed bunny her grandmother gave her on the shelf. She grabs it too and hugs it to her chest. Then she throws her sketchbook and box of pencils into her backpack. They are her most prized possessions. "Aya, hurry up!" Eliza shouts from the hallway. She's already pulling on her jacket and shoving her feet into her boots without untying the laces. Aya pulls her backpack over her shoulders and grabs her small suitcase on wheels. the one they took on their trip to Grandma's. She runs out into the hallway. They look like people running from a fire. Eliza looks at the bags. They still need to get some money. She runs back to the bedroom, to the nightstand where the cash is. Her gaze falls on a framed photograph of herself, little Aya, and her father, who is no longer with her. She pauses for a second, then abruptly takes the photograph off the shelf and places it in the document folder. They stand in the hallway, surrounded by bags, ready to run out. Eliza is already reaching for the door lock to open it, and then they freeze at the same time. It seemed so to both of them. Eliza slowly lowers her hand. Aya freezes, her eyes wide open. Silence behind the door. The usual silence of their floor. But a few seconds ago, they thought they heard a sound, very quiet, like a footstep on the landing, or like someone very carefully shifting their weight from one foot to the other right outside their door. Not a creak, not a knock, just a muffled movement. They're not breathing. Eliza puts her finger to her lips, looking at Aya. She nods, understanding. They stand and listen. With all their skin, with all their being. There's nothing else. Absolute silence. Even the sound of the elevator in the shaft is inaudible. Maybe they imagined it? Maybe it was an echo of their own panic, their own running? Maybe a neighbor came out to take out the trash and froze when he heard the noise at their door. But they no longer believe in coincidences. They believe only in the worst. They don't move. They wait. A minute passes. Another. The silence behind the door now seems even more ominous than any sound. It's thick and heavy. Anything could be hiding in it. Eliza slowly, centimeter by centimeter, leads Aya away from the door and deeper into the hallway. They press against the wall, staring at the wooden panel that separates them from the rest of the world. From him, they don't know what's there. They only know that they can't just open the door and run out anymore. The sound comes suddenly. It's not loud, but in the complete silence of the hallway, it seems deafening. Knock, knock, knock. 3 clear measured knocks on the wooden door. No rush, no rudeness. A polite but insistent knock from a guest certain he's expected. Eliza and Aya shudder simultaneously, as if they'd been electrocuted. Aya presses herself against her mother, her small body turning to stone. Eliza instinctively covers her mouth with her hand, though the girl hasn't made a sound. Her own hand is icy. They look at the door, at the metal chain hanging unfastened, at the peephole, which is now scary to look through. The knocking repeats, 3 more blows, just as even. Knock, knock, knock. A pause. Short. Just a few seconds. Aya looks up at her mother. There's no longer a question in her gaze. There's pure childish terror there. She already knows. She knows as surely as Eliza. This is not a neighbor. Not a postman. Not a random person. Only one person could have shown up here so soon after that call. Only one person could knock with such icy, confident politeness. The one who's always in control. Even now, after he's been exposed. It's Elle and Sue. He's here. He's here, behind this thin wooden door. He passed the intercom, climbed the stairs, and now stands centimeters away from them. The thought is so monstrous, and so real at the same time, that it takes Eliza's breath away. It feels like all the air is sucked out of the room. The knocking stopped. Silence falls. It's even more deafening and oppressive than the one before the knock. It's filled with anticipation. Anticipation of the next move. Anticipation of a voice. Anticipation of the lock turning. They don't hear any footsteps leaving. No rustling of clothes. Nothing. He hasn't left. He's just waiting for an answer. He knows they're inside. He heard them pacing around the apartment a few minutes ago. He probably heard Eliza hang up. He's waiting for them to open the door. Or for them to speak. A minute passes. Eliza feels Aya's trembling contagiously. The girl cries silently, tears streaming down her face and falling onto Eliza's hand, still pressed to her lips. Eliza slowly removes her hand and hugs her daughter even tighter, trying to somehow cover her. They both look at the door, mesmerized, like rabbits in front of a boa constrictor. And then he speaks. The voice comes softly, muffled through the wood, but it's absolutely clear, recognizable. That same calm, velvety timbre. Eliza! Aya! I know you're there! Eliza squeezes Aya so hard that she moans. Please open up! There's no need to be afraid. His tone is soft and persuasive, as if he were speaking to nervous animals. I need to talk to you. Explain everything. What you saw, it's not all that clear. It's a big misunderstanding. He pauses, letting the words sink in. Open the door. Let's resolve this peacefully, like adults. I won't hurt you, you know me. The last sentence is the most terrifying. You know me? Yes, they know him. Now they know who he is. And that only makes it worse. He continues speaking. His voice is even, non-threatening, but his words themselves are already a threat. I have no ill intentions towards you, Eliza. I never have. My feelings are genuine. But now there are complications. We need to talk things through. Hear me out, please. He waits again. There is no answer. I can't leave until we talk. This is important. For your own safety. You're scared right now, and you might do something stupid. I want to help you. Open the door. Every word he says, every polite intonation, is a hook. He's trying to hook her logic, her fear, her residual feelings, for the man he pretended to be. He's trying to return everything to the framework of their previous relationship, where he was the authority, the strength, the protector. But the boundaries are broken. All that remains is naked fear. Eliza presses her lips to Aya's hair, her mind racing. There are no options. Or rather, they are all terrible. Option 1, open the door, let him in, listen to his explanation. And then, what then? He won't just leave. He's got something planned. Maybe he wants to take them with him, take them away so they can't talk. Maybe he wants to threaten Aya to keep Eliza quiet. Opening the door means throwing yourself completely at his mercy. Option 2, don't open the door. Ignore him. Sit quietly and hope he goes away. But he said he wouldn't. He could stand there for hours. Or he could come in himself. The door isn't armored. The lock is regular. Option 3, call the police, now. While he's outside, shout into the phone, give him his address. But the phone is in her bag 2 meters away, in the hallway. To reach it, she'd have to break away from Aya, take a step. He might hear movement. And what if the police arrive in 20 minutes? And what will he do in those 20 minutes if he realizes they're calling? Eliza hugs Aya, burying her face in her chest. She feels her daughter's heart beating rapidly, like a trapped bird's. She must decide, now. They don't answer. They just stand in silence, listening to his breathing outside the door. It's barely audible, but they think they can feel it. And then a new sound is heard. Metallic, dry, very specific. Click. The sound made when a key is inserted into a keyhole from the outside. Eliza freezes. Aya sobs, burrowing deeper. There's a grinding noise. A turn. Unsuccessful. The key doesn't fit. A second of silence. Then a new sound. Lighter, more subtle. As if someone were trying a different key. Or a master key. The scraping, searching sound of metal on metal inside the castle. It's quiet, but in the complete silence of the hallway, it rumbles like thunder. They have a chain. But it's a weak defense. It can be torn out with a single blow from the shoulder. The sounds in the castle break the last threads of hesitation. He's not just asking, he's barging in. Eliza pushes Aya away, but doesn't let go, holding her by the shoulder. She jerks sideways toward her bag, which is leaning against the wall. She falls to her knees, her hands rummaging through the contents over her clothes without looking. Her fingers find the hard corner of the document folder, slip past it, and grasp the soft fabric. No! Then she feels cool plastic. Aya's phone. She yanks it out. She presses her back against the wall, next to Aya, and turns on the screen. The bright light blinds her in the dim hallway. Her fingers tremble. She misses, and opens some game. She goes out and taps the emergency call icon. A numeric keypad for dialing a number appears on the screen. She dials 102. Police. Her finger hovers over the green call button. Outside, the sounds in the castle cease. A momentary ominous silence falls, as if he's listening, as if he sensed something happening. Eliza clutches the phone to her chest, blocking the screen's light. She looks at Aya, then at the door. She has to press the button. Now! And at that moment, the door begins to move. Not a jerk, not a break-in, slowly, almost silently. First, there's a soft click. The lock's tongue has popped open. Someone from outside has opened it, whether with the right key or a skilled hand. It doesn't matter. Then the bottom corner of the door moves away from the frame by a millimeter. A thin strip of gray light appears from the entrance. The door slowly and smoothly begins to swing inward, toward itself. It follows the path allowed by the hinges and the unfastened chain, which clanks taut, preventing it from opening fully. But it opens. A centimeter. Another one. Behind this crack, in the semi-darkness of the entrance, there is a shadow. Eliza freezes. Her gaze is fixed on that narrow, widening crack. A cold draft of air from the entryway wafts under the door. A patch of dirty floor from someone else's landing is visible through the crack, and A shadow. A long, distorted shadow, cast by a light somewhere to the side. The light from the phone screen burns her palm. Her thumb still hovers over the green receiver icon. The numbers 102 glow on the display. The gap widens. Now it's only 3 centimeters. More can be seen through it. The edge of dark fabric, the hem of a coat, and fingers. Long, calm fingers in a black leather glove, resting on the inside of the door, gently pushing it inward. The chain stretches to its limit, its links digging into the wood of the frame with a soft creak. Eliza sees those fingers, and that evening in the kitchen comes flooding back to her. With those same fingers, he carefully adjusted the fork on the table. With those same fingers, he stirred the food in the frying pan. My mind works at breakneck, animal-like speed. He's here. He's opening the door. Now he'll either rip the chain off or reach in and undo it. The instinct for self-preservation, stronger than fear, finally kicks in. Her thumb comes down and presses hard on the green button on the screen. A soft electronic ringtone sounds. In the silence, it sounds deafeningly loud. The door's movement stops instantly. The fingers on the inside of it freeze. The shadow behind the door seems to recoil slightly. "Hello, 102. What's the emergency?" The female voice on the line sounds professional and a little sleepy. Eliza can't make a sound. Her throat is tight. She stares at the crack in the door, at her frozen gloved fingers. She opens her mouth, but only a croak comes out. "Hello, can you hear me? Tell me what happened and your address." The fingers behind the door withdraw. The crack still gapes. There is absolute silence in the entryway. He listens. He hears a voice from the receiver. "Speak!" the dispatcher demands more insistently. Eliza finally manages a hoarse whisper. She turns her face to the wall, pressing the phone to her lips, trying to block out the sound. We're being attacked. He's outside the door. He's trying to get in." Who wants to come in? State the address." "Lee Soo. His name is Lee Soo. He was on the news, Mafia." Eliza barely controls her words. The main thing is to get the information out. The main thing is to be heard. The address is Zeleniah Street, Building 10, Block 2, Apartment 37. I repeat, Apartment 37. He's here, in the entryway, right by the door. He's trying to pick the lock. She blurts out the address. Out of breath, Aya clings to her, trembling. The rapid clicking of keys is heard on the line. Acknowledged. Crew is being dispatched. Don't hang up. Don't open the door. Is he still there? Eliza looks at the crack again. The fingers are gone, but the shadow hasn't disappeared. It's still there, motionless. "Yes," she whispers. "He's standing there. How many is it? One? I don't know. I only see one. I think there's only one." At that moment, a voice comes from behind the door. The same calm, low voice. But now there is no trace of conviction or gentleness in it. It is flat, metallic, like a blade. "Eliza, hang up." He speaks quietly, but so clearly that he can probably be heard even on the telephone. "You." Eliza's heart freezes. Aya screams, covering her ears with her hands. "Hang up and we'll talk," the voice behind the door continues. "Otherwise it will be worse." For Aya, a direct threat, delivered as casually as if he were saying, "Pass the salt." Eliza practically screams into the phone, desperately trying to make the dispatcher hear through her panic. "We read." "Hold on. The crew is already on its way. Do not engage them." "Eliza!" The voice behind the door sounds closer. It seems to lean toward the crack. "You're making a mistake. A big mistake. Open the door now, and I'll forget everything. We'll leave, all together. You have 3 seconds." He starts counting, slowly, relentlessly. 1. The crack in the door suddenly twitches. He grabs the door again. The chain jingles, straining. 2. Eliza closes her eyes and presses herself against the wall, hugging Aya with one arm and clutching the phone to her ear with the other. She hears the dispatcher's voice on the other end of the line. "Don't give in. Don't open the door." 3. There's a dull, powerful thud. Not on the door. Next to the door, on the wall. As if someone had punched concrete with all their might. The sound is heavy, angry. The wall in the hallway seems to shake. A small porcelain figurine falls from the shelf above and shatters. Aya screams. This isn't an attempt to break down the door. It's a show of force. The message, I can break down a wall. "Last chance, Eliza," the voice says. Now there's a hint of cold irritation in it. The calm is beginning to crack. "Open up." And then something happens that no one expected. Even Eliza. Aya breaks away from her mother. Her face is streaked with tears, red with horror and rage. She takes 2 steps forward, towards the door itself, towards that terrible gap, beyond which lies the nightmare. "Get out!" she screams in a thin, piercing voice, full of hatred and despair. "Get out of here! I hate you! The police are on their way!" Her scream deafens Eliza. She reaches out to pull her daughter away, but Aya breaks free. There's silence behind the door. Complete, absolute. You can't even hear a breath. The long shadow on the entryway floor suddenly shortened, retreating from the crack. He stepped away. Footsteps are heard. Quick, firm. No attempt to hide the sound. They retreat down the landing. Not down toward the exit, but up to the floor above. Then the steps fade away. He left, Eliza whispers into the phone. "I think he went upstairs." "Don't leave the apartment," the dispatcher immediately commands. "This could be a trick. The crew is on its way. Wait at the door. If you hear any attempts to break in, shout into the phone immediately." Eliza crawls forward and grabs Aya, pulling her away from the door, into the hallway, toward the entrance to the rooms. She still holds the phone to her ear. Her hands are shaking so much she can barely hold the device. The crack in the door is still open. The chain glimmers ominously in the dim light. Beyond it lies an empty, illuminated entryway. No movement. They sit on the floor, huddled close together, staring at that crack. Every second feels like an eternity. They listen to the slightest sound. A rustle, a creak, a step. Suddenly, from above, right above their heads, comes a loud, sharp sound, as if something heavy and metallic had been dropped on the stairwell above. The clang of metal on concrete. Then, quickly receding, light footsteps, now running down the stairs. Not one person. 2, it seemed. Then there was the slam of the heavy front door of the building below. And again, silence. "I think he ran away," Eliza cries into the phone. "We heard the door slam downstairs." "Stay where you are. The crew should be with you in a minute." And indeed, a few dozen seconds later, through the double-glazed windows in the living room, the distant but rapidly approaching wail of a siren can be heard. Not just 1, 2, maybe 3. The sound grows louder, fills the street, then abruptly stops right beneath their windows. They can hear car doors slamming, voices, short, abrupt commands. There's a hum of voices in the entryway, heavy, quick footsteps on the stairs. Not just one person, many people. There's a knock on their door, but this time it's a loud, official knock, and the voice is a man's, completely different from the one before. "Police! Open up!" Eliza struggles to her feet. She approaches the door, her hands shaking so much that it takes her 3 tries to fasten the chain and turn the main lock. The door swings open. 3 uniformed police officers stand on the landing. Behind them, more plainclothes officers are visible. Their faces are serious and tense. They quickly scan the hallway. Eliza, Aya pressed against her, and the bags against the wall. "Are you Eliza? Did you call?" the older one asks, his gaze sliding to the cracked screen of the phone in her hand. She can only nod. The words are gone. One of the police officers carefully pulls Aya aside and begins asking her quiet questions. The other 2 ask Eliza to tell the whole story from the beginning. Her speech is halting. She fumbles, returning to the news, to the ringing bell, to the knock on the door, to the sound of a key in the lock, to the threats. She shows them the crack in the door, the broken lock. The officers listen, take notes, and exchange glances. One of them radios Elle and Sue's descriptions and says they need to comb the area. Half an hour later, the apartment is already full of people. Forensic experts are examining the door and the lock, looking for fingerprints. Another police officer asks if they have somewhere to go for the night and offers to accompany them. Eliza, still in shock, nods. She has a sister in another city, 3 hours away. The officer says they'll be taken to the train station and ensure they board the train. She and Aya, guarded by 2 officers, quickly gather the remaining things. Eliza no longer feels fear. She feels emptiness and a profound fatigue. Aya walks silently beside her, holding her mother's hand tightly, her eyes large and dark. As they exit the building, they are greeted by the chilly night air and the curious glances of neighbors standing at their windows. 3 police cars with flashing lights are parked at the entrance. The light from them bounces off the walls of the buildings, painting everything blue and red. They're loaded into one of the cars. Eliza looks out the window at her building, at the light in their kitchen windows, which the policeman is keeping out. She realizes that this might be the last time she's seeing this. Their old life, quiet and peaceful, remains there, behind that door with the broken lock. It's shattered, like that porcelain figurine in the hallway. The car starts moving and slowly pulls away from the curb. Aya clings to it, no longer crying, just silently staring into space. Eliza also looks out the window, at the dark streets where the three of them so often strolled. She searches the shadows of the entrances, the gaps between the buildings, for him, his silhouette. But she sees only ordinary passers-by, hurrying about their business. He's gone. He's gone now. But she knows it's not the end. It's just a pause. He's out there somewhere. And he knows everything about them now. And he's angry. He's so angry. The car turns the corner, and her house disappears from view. They're driving through the city at night. The flashing lights have already been turned off, and the car is moving in normal traffic. Eliza clutches Aya's broken phone, which the police allowed her to take. The second officer, sitting in the front seat, periodically speaks into the radio in a quiet, even voice. His calm should be comforting, but it feels alien and distant. Aya falls asleep, her head swaying limply on Eliza's shoulder. Despair and screaming have taken all her strength. Eliza strokes her hair, looks out the dark window, but sees not the reflection of the streets, but his face. Not the smiling one from the skating rink, but that last one, cold and empty, frozen in the crack of the open door. And she hears a voice. 3 seconds. She understands that they have escaped. Physically, they are leaving. But does she feel relief? No. Only a heavy, leaden fatigue and an all-pervading cold. The fear has not gone away. It has simply quieted, lurking somewhere deep inside, waiting for a new pretext. They are brought to the train station. It's a huge, illuminated space, crowded even at night. Officers escort them to the waiting room and help them buy tickets for the next train, which leaves in an hour. They sit on hard plastic chairs. One officer stays with them, while the other leaves after speaking with station security. Eliza sees him point at them, and the guard nods, giving them an appraising look. This view of the victims, this view of the problem, makes Eliza cringe. They're no longer just people. They're part of a case, victims, witnesses. Their lives have become public property. She tries to call her sister Lena, but her own phone is broken. She asks the officer for his. Her sister's voice, sleepy and worried, seems like the only link to the normal world. Come right away, of course. What happened? Eliza, swallowing tears, says only the most important thing. We're in big trouble. We'll come in the morning. I'll tell you everything. She can't say it out loud here, among strangers. Finally, they are escorted to the train. The officer inspects the compartment and speaks briefly with the conductor. She looks at them with undisguised curiosity and pity. Sit down. Don't be afraid of anything. The journey will be peaceful, she says. But her words hang in the air. The compartment door closes. They are alone. The bags are on the bottom berth. The lights of a freight train on the adjacent track flicker outside the window. Eliza locks the compartment from the inside with a small bolt. The mechanism seems laughably unreliable. The train starts moving. A jerk, then a smooth motion. The city lights begin to float past the window, dissolving into the darkness. Aya wakes from the movement, looking at her mother with confused eyes, as if not understanding where they are. We're going to Aunt Lena's, Eliza says quietly. Aya nods and closes her eyes again, still holding her mother's hand. Eliza can't sleep. She listens to every sound outside the door. The conductor's footsteps, laughter in the next compartment, the creaking of the train. Every sound makes her heart beat faster. She looks at Aya's phone. It's dying. They're out of battery. She feels cut off from the world, and it's both terrifying and a little reassuring. No one will be able to call them, including him. But the thought that he's out there won't leave her. He didn't storm the apartment when he heard the police. He retreated, smartly, calculatingly, like he always did. Does that mean he's given up? No. It means he's simply changed tactics. He knows they'll leave. He saw the bags in the hallway. He probably even heard her shouting the address to her sister into the phone as she stood by the door. She closes her eyes, and their conversation resurfaces before her in minute detail. Every gesture, every phrase, is now seen from a different perspective. His questions about her work, about whether she left any family savings or property after her parents. His interest in how she manages her relationships with clients, whether she has any partners. All of this seemed like a sign of concern, a desire to delve into her life. Now it looks like information gathering, reconnaissance, and his almost manic precision, the precision of his movements. It's not just a character trait, it's control, complete control over himself and the space around him. And for several weeks, he and Aya became part of this space, his project. The train picks up speed, monotonously tapping on the rail joints. Eliza looks at the sleeping IU, The only thing she can cling to is the need to protect herself. Everything else, her trust in the world, her sense of security, even her ability to distinguish truth from lies, has been shattered. They arrive early in the morning. The town where Lena lives greets them with a gray, chilly dawn. No one is waiting for them at the train station. Eliza can't tell the exact time. They take a taxi and drive through the quiet, still sleeping streets. Lena opens the door to her small apartment. She's wearing a robe, her face pale from lack of sleep and worry. Seeing them, Eliza with a devastated expression, Aya huddled next to her mother, she simply opens her arms. No questions asked. They step inside. The air smells of coffee and homemade baked goods. The silence and comfort of the small apartment, filled with familiar childhood objects, affect Eliza more powerfully than words. She feels something inside her break, and she begins to cry, quietly, silently, but uncontrollably. Lena simply holds her shoulders, while Aya, tired and lost, sits down on the sofa and looks out the window. Then it's time for the story. They're drinking hot, sweet tea in the kitchen. Aya is already asleep on a fold-out bed in the room. Eliza speaks monotonously, dryly, as if reporting, about the skating rink, about dates, about the news, about the knock on the door, about the voice in the crack. Lena listens without interrupting, her face growing increasingly serious. When Eliza falls silent, Lena sits for a long moment, staring at her cup. So, it's the one from the news? The whole city's looking for him, she finally says. She gets up, turns on the small kitchen television, and flips through the channels. One of the morning newscasts is showing the same story again, his photo again. And now the report has added new details. According to the latest information, the perpetrator may have attempted to escape, and contact has been established with one of the potential victims, who is currently under the protection of law enforcement. Eliza looks at the screen and feels a shiver run down her spine. They're already part of the news feed. They're spoken of impersonally, as the injured party. But someone watching this news might put two and two together, especially if that someone knows she has a sister in this city. Lena turns off the TV. "You're not leaving here until things calm down," she says firmly. "Stay here. Don't take Aya to school for now. Rest up. I'll warn the neighbors not to say anything unnecessary." 3 days pass. 3 days of a strange, numb existence. They don't go outside. Aya draws or sits silently, staring at the tablet her aunt gave her. She barely speaks, flinches at loud noises. Eliza tries calling her investigator, but the information is scant. A manhunt is underway. "We recommend you stay put and remain vigilant." Vigilance. The word hangs in the air now. Eliza is vigilant. She goes to the window and scans the courtyard. She flinches when the door slams in the entryway. She got a new phone and a new SIM card, but she only gave the number to Lena and the investigator. Every time the phone vibrates, her insides turn cold. On the 4th day, Lena brings the mail. Among the newspapers and advertising brochures is a simple paper letter and an envelope. The address is handwritten in a neat, impersonal hand. The recipient's name is Eliza. There is no last name. There is no return address. Lena looks at the envelope, then at her sister. "Should I open it?" Eliza slowly takes the envelope. It's light. She feels it. Inside is something flat, hard, like a photograph or a postcard. Her hands begin to tremble again. She stares at her address, written in that neat, alien handwriting, for a long moment. Who could have written here? No one but a very select few knows where she is, and only one person in that circle could have written it by hand, striving to be unrecognizable. She doesn't open it. She places the unopened envelope on the table and moves away from it as if from a poisonous snake. She looks at it, and the quiet horror, barely beginning to subside, returns, filling the room with an icy, invisible presence. He found them. He made his presence known, silently, without threats. Just an envelope. The message was clear. "I know where you are. I will always find you." Eliza hugs herself, trying to warm herself. She looks at Lena's apartment door, at the simple lock, at the chain, and she realizes that running away might have been just a delay. The game has begun again. Only now, only he knows the rules.